Hello and welcome to another edition of Pulp Picks. My name is Patrick.
I'm Fritz.
And we're here to give you the reading recommendations for New Comic Book Day. We're well into January now. 2024 continues to impress. There were a lot of books that we talked about as possibilities for our selections this week. So the top three are really the cream of the crop, I think. And actually, you picked a book that I often really enjoy, but I didn't get to it this morning because there were so many new books that I wanted to read. But let's start off with your pick.
Yeah, so I picked Fantastic Four issue 16. This is the first full issue with the kids back. If you've been reading this series, a big part of it has been that there was this whole negative zone shenanigans going on. The kids in the Baxter building had to get displaced in time to protect them.
For a year plus.
Yeah, but they're back now. The whole family's living out in Arizona, I think.
Yeah,
they got
sounds right.
Yeah, it's Aunt Petunia's old farmhouse they've renovated. So Franklin, Val, Nikki, and Joe, they're all starting school out there. They're having a good time. They're not feeling super challenged because they're used to having these wacky space adventures and doing all kinds of space and time shenanigans. So they decide they get this assignment about inventions that in the past people were oh, I hope we make these someday. And most of those things have been made, like planes. And so they're we should try and make one of the ones that has been made. And so they try and create a universal solvent. And they succeed.
Oh, that's... Yeah.
Yeah. And there's a great line where after they've done it, where one of them is just so what's to stop it from eating through the beaker? And that's where things go from there.
Yeah.
Is them constantly trying to fix this problem, thinking they fix it, finding out maybe we didn't, thinking they fix it again, being oh, we might have made it exponentially worse actually. It's just this whole run, you could easily sum up in that is it exceedingly fun. This is probably one of the most fun issues in this entire this might be just one of my favorite issues of Fantastic Four, because I knew I was going to be happy when the kids got back because I love the kids. They were one of the highlights of the previous run. But just them having their own little self-contained adventure with little input from the adult was just absolutely a blast. There's these little snippets of Reed making tacos and stuff. That's great. I love the Fantastic Four, and this run might be my favorite run on the series just because the character work is great. The art is always fun. I don't know. You don't even need to have been reading the series so far to enjoy this issue. It's just a fun one and done. Let's do a little science experiment. And then in typical superhero fashion, it goes horribly wrong.
Yeah.
So,
So, just as a whole, this run, I am very much enjoying Wade Waringo. That was a great run.
Yeah.
Hickman and oh man, who was the artist on Hickman's run?
He had a lot.
Epting?
Epting was on a good chunk of it. Yeah.
Really like that too. But this, they're just getting the magic of the chemistry between.
I love how the opening is just everyone at the school being oh, we've got superhero people at our school now. That's so cool. And Valerie's my godfather's Dr. Doom. It's fantastic. It's so much fun in the Mighty Marvel manner you expect. But speaking of something that's, I don't know if fun is the right word for it, but it's definitely in the Mighty Marvel manner of heroes being put through the ringer. Your pick this week.
So no surprise that Chip Zdarsky has written another really good book. So I went with Avengers Twilight #1. This is, a dystopian future. Things have gone horribly wrong.
Yeah.
The heroes are getting blamed for it. So now a lot of things are outlawed, including apparently video and photography in the public domain. Superheroes, of course, except the ones that are sanctioned by the government. So it starts with Captain America, Steve Rogers, old man, getting up and not feeling like he wants to get out of bed today.
Been there.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And so we learn that he no longer has the super soldier serum, and he meets Luke Cage and Matt Murdock in the park, like old guys will do.
Yeah.
And they kind of talk about the good old days and how they don't really like the way that things are, but what are they going to do? They're a bunch of old men. And then, something forces Steve to step up and try to protect some people.
Mm-hmm.
And we learn of a bigger problem behind the scenes that is going to now be driving the story. Really good. Love the art. It is such a great fit here. How do you pronounce Daniel's last name? Acuna?
I think that's how
Acuna?
you do it.
Yeah. Sorry if I murdered that. I'm trying.
Is it weird to say he's very good at drawing like old buff people?
Yeah. Super good. Yeah. Yeah. I know that he's been in comics for quite a while.
Yeah.
He's done a ton of stuff. But what am I specifically thinking of?
He did a good chunk of Remender's Uncanny Avengers.
Yeah.
He's done like a lot of cover work, especially over the years. Like I think.
Why do I feel like he did like a Dominic Fortune or something at some point in time? Was that a thing?
I don't know.
Or did he do Luke Cage before on something? I don't know.
I don't know. He did. He was the main artist for a good chunk of the Sam Wilson chunk of Nick Spencer's Captain America stuff.
Oh, that might be what I'm thinking of. But anyway, sometimes you get the right artist with the right story, and they and the writer just really mesh together great. This is one of those instances.
And one of the things I loved about it is because a couple of years ago, Zdarsky did like this kind of like future Justice League story where it's them kind of having to get back together after this big falling out. There was this big like epic like climax against Darkseid and whatnot, and it's interesting how he's able to do like stories that are like kind of like similar on a very surface level vibe of just like, oh, everything went to pod, like all the superheroes are kind of like disbanded and don't really get along anymore, just aren't superheroes, but like in two very different directions.
Yeah. Well, and they've done this a number of times in Marvel with the Avengers.
Yeah.
And Justice League has done it a number of times. But I don't know. Chip he's got a great way of, I don't know, he kind of bare bones things first, I think, and then does a really good job of adding
because you can feel the layers that are like under the surface here.
Yeah, absolutely. I honestly, I wasn't expecting this to it was Zdarsky, so it's like, well, it's going to be at least good.
Yeah, you know it's going to be like a good read. You just don't expect it to be like this is like, I'm very excited to see what happens next.
It really hooked me.
It feels like anything could happen. Like it doesn't feel like anyone's safe in this kind of future. Which, I mean, you get a lot of those kind of futures where you just kind of take for granted, like, oh, it's like dystopian future, people are going to die. But like, there's more of a weight to it in this. It feels like. Yeah.
They go to show how serious everything is right away. And I guess go to show is not quite the right term, but you learn. You learn that the stakes are high pretty quick.
And so. part of that I think is also yes, it's dystopian but for a lot of people it's also like not like a bad future. So like there's people who are definitely like fine with how things are. And I feel like a thing that's going to come is like, is what they're doing worth that? Right. Like worth breaking that for people. Yeah. So definitely curious about that.
Very interesting. Yep. Yeah, because a lot of the people living in the society think that things have gotten much better. Yeah. But when the curtain is pulled back, are they going to reject the way that things are, or are they going to double down on it? Yeah, it's going to be really interesting. Yeah. Speaking of really interesting, Skybound and the Energon universe just keeps knocking them out of the park.
Yep. So this week we've got Cobra. Is it Cobra? Yep. Cobra Commander issue 1. It's kind of weird because like I feel like there's a lot about this book we can't actually like talk about with getting to spoilers like right away.
Yeah, because it like the second that you get past the preview that has been printed for about a month now on the back of other Energon universe books. There's a big review, and you turn that page and you go, "Oh wow, is that?" And then it is.
Yeah, and like because we've talked about this before. Like you're much more of a Joe's guy than I am. Like I know enough to like when that reveal happens, just like, oh, okay. Like I like even me, I'm just like, oh, this is like a big thing to just throw out there like that.
Yeah. So it was really interesting to read Joshua Williamson's letter at the back of the book, kind of explaining the creative process and how, yes, this is kind of a panel that's discussing how are these parts going to fit together, and what are the elements of the story that we're going to use, and where are we taking from comics, movies, TV shows, just general zeitgeist, I guess. Yeah. And how are we going to mix these together in a shared universe that is both familiar and nostalgic, but also fresh and new, and a story that's worth telling now.
Yeah.
Wow, did they do that in this book?
I think the book's biggest achievement is the, like, because I don't know about you, when I think of Cobra Commander, I think of that guy who's always losing, who just, like, has the funny voice and anytime I've seen him in anything, he just never feels like much of a threat. And here, like, this dude is dangerous.
Yes.
He has, like, no qualms about killing anyone who gets in his way. He is able to, like, manipulate people that by all rights should just want him dead.
Yep.
Like, you can definitely start to see how someone like this can be in charge of, like, this, like, massive terrorist organization bent on world domination.
Yes.
If you told me that we'd have, like, a cool character study of Cobra Commander in the year 2024, I wouldn't have believed you. But, like, they're off to a good start.
Yeah, and they did such a great job of pulling a little piece of this and a little thread of that and putting it all together to be able to create this less goofy, less goony kind of version. Kind of like they did if you've been reading the Transformers books, like very similar to what they've done with the Decepticons. They're not just goofballs who are just bad guys,
like
that retreat at the end of the story or, make some really dumb mistake. They're out, murdering people. And same thing with Cobra Commander. He's not going to give up. He's not going to retreat. He's always scheming, and he knows his strengths and weaknesses, and it seems like he knows other people's, and he's definitely going to leverage them.
Yeah. And I do like, though, there is, you'll know when you get to it, but there's also, he's definitely got a sense of confidence that, for the most part, seems to be warranted, but also, in a certain instance, might be his downfall.
Yes, that panel, right?
Yeah,
it sent a chill down my spine.
It's just, it's a panel that tells you, like, if you think things are going to go bad, trust us, it's going to be a whole lot worse.
Yeah, and so when readers get to that, my thought was, man, you could have done this in a lot easier way. Like, there are other combinations of characters in this element of the story that you could have done that you would get away with. But this is going to make the storytelling complicated going forward, right? The way that the lines are going to be drawn for who's on, this side, that side, like, it's going to be a battle royal free-for-all.
Oh, yeah.
Like, allegiances and everything are that preconceived notions that I had about this book were thrown out the window right then and there. So,
and that's something I liked about this Energon universe in general. It's just like, because it's stuff like, you'd assume, like, the Autobots and the Joes, they'd be, like, allies. And there's very much evidence to the contrary for that already.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's such, like, a fresh... Because, like, before this, we were talking about, like, stuff about, like, nostalgia and that. And one of the things I love about this is, obviously, if you've been reading and watching stuff about these characters since they've come out, like, there's stuff here for you you're going to enjoy. It's also just, like, if you haven't ever touched any of this, like, you had, like, a toy or something when you were a kid and that's about it, like, you can just hop in and, like, get good character stuff, good storytelling. We haven't talked about a lot here, but Manila, the person on the art here, the art is gorgeous. The art's been great on all these books. I don't know how they keep knocking out of the park on that front either, but they managed to.
Gorgeous. Yeah, it's super. And it's got such a cool... Cobra Commander's stature and his posture and everything is just so cool. It's slightly different from everybody else.
They're like, that first, like, big splash page of a city is just, like, so good. Yeah. Like, the way it's rendered is just, the energy to it is just great.
From going to the absolute mundane restaurant at the beginning of it to, some of the more fantastic cityscapes that we see later. Super good. Super good. I'm just blown away by what a excellent stable of creators they have put together for the Energon universe. It's been there is not a single artist or writer that I haven't really enjoyed beyond, and I was super hopeful because, I enjoy Transformers and G.I. Joe and all of that. So I was hopeful this is exceeding my expectations. And it is. You don't have to have any knowledge or enjoyment of them in the past at all to get to like. In fact, we've got a lot of people. These are our best-selling books right now. They're outselling Marvel and DC's top books. And that doesn't just happen from just people who are looking for a nostalgia read. A lot of our customers are picking up this book. And, a number of them have never really done anything else with G.I. Joe or Transformers.
And again, like I said with this and with the Duke book, like, I know Joe stuff. A lot of it's kind of just by osmosis from, like, knowing other people who know Joe stuff. Again, they're making me a Joe's fan. And I'm kind of mad at them for it, but it's too late now. It's happening.
Yeah. Well, it's been another massive week. There were a whole bunch of books that I'm really surprised at how many books are consistently doing great. Guardians was good. Wonder Woman was good. Deviant was good. So many good books. Keep coming.
It's funny that I almost picked Deviant over Fantastic Four, and they are such polar opposite books because one is fun, wacky kid adventures. The other one is, hey, you want to see a hate crime happen?
Yeah, right? Exactly.
It's wild.
Oh, this one, it shed a lot of light into the past and what got us to the point that we're at in the current timeline.
Yeah.
Ooh, also some good setup. Oh, that thing on the counter at the hospital.
Yeah.
What's going on? So good. Well, get down here and check it all out for yourself. Be sure to like, follow, subscribe. If you can't get down here, we've got the website and the app, pulpcg.com. We'll get you there. Otherwise, it's Comic Hub, and just make sure that Pulp Comics and Games is your store. And we'll be back next week with even more. So thank you for joining us, and have a great day.
Without naming it, like, there's people who act like the pinnacle of, like, 90s storytelling was, like, Executioner song in X-Men. And just, like, not even knocking that, but it's just, like, there's so much more to comics than just that. Like,